Hey all, my name is Jenny Sauer. I'm a mobile solutions specialist with the USDA APHIS PPQ End User Tools Group, and we are the group that creates or configures the mobile apps that collect data for much of your survey work. Today, I'm going to talk about Box Tree Moth. There are several surveys collecting data on Box Tree Moth.
Box Tree Moth is managed by an incident management team here with the USDA APHIS PPQ. So all questions about these trainings and trapping and anything to do with Box Tree Moth should be directed to that IMT. A few of the apps already configured involve IDC, which is the IFIS Data Collector application. That is officially the PPQ survey app used for trapping surveys. Collector, which we're going to talk about today, which is officially the cooperator used collection app for trapping surveys. And Survey 123, which is going to be doing trace surveys for Box Tree Moth. The Box Tree Moth trapping surveys using ArcGIS Collector application has two supporting documents. One we call a manual. It goes into details on how to use the ArcGIS Collector application to collect data specifically for BTM trapping surveys. And the other we call a quick reference. And the quick reference is just one page meant to be kind of a cheat sheet. You might choose to print it and take it into the field as like your little cheat sheet while doing these surveys. So there are two places that End User Tools hosts these so that they are convenient and easy to access by anyone. If you already have a APHIS GIS portal user role, you can access the portal via any browser. So I've got a Google browser open here. I have the APHIS GIS portal bookmarked here. I'll come to it and sign in. This can be done from any device as well. You'll use your e-authentication login, username and password, as I'm doing here. So once I'm signed in to the portal, you can see my name is up here and this little number that's my ID as a portal user. I could choose to go to groups and find the group that I've been made a member of. They're shared to groups, but these documents are also shared at the organization level, so they're basically made public within the portal. So if I go ahead and hit this search button and search all of ArcGIS Enterprise, I can just search for Box Tree Moth manual. I could also do quick reference if I wanted to in the same way. And there it is, the Box Tree Moth Trapping Collector Manual. That's the one we want for this course. Perfect. And I have to open it, and then it's going to give me a details page, and then I can open the PDF as well. So here's a little open button. And there you go. Here is the Box Tree Moth user manual, and you can see all the details we're going to talk about today are all there in about 10 pages. Another option, which might even be even easier and can be accessed by anyone, whether you have a portal account or not. I'll open another browser. I have a bookmark here for the mobile data collection tools. This is on the USDA APHIS public facing website, which means anyone can find this if they'd like. You can see we've got training documents here, and down a little further we've got a video gallery. This video will be posted here under pest programs later, so you can review it from there. The general and then the pest program specific pages take you to documentation. So let's hit pest program specific, and you can see Box Tree Moth is listed, and there is documentation here for the collector app and also for the IDC application. Likely there will be more showing up here, so this is an excellent spot for you to look for all things in one spot. And so all I'd have to do is I'll open the quick reference this time. There you go, there's the one-page quick reference, just a little cheat sheet. If you wanted to print that off, that should help you along the way. If you've done all the training prior to, this is going to make it much easier in the field. So that's the two spots where you can locate documentation should you need it from any location. Sure, we do what we're told, but it bears the question, why a mobile app? And some consideration as to why we might want to use a mobile app to record this data. It reduces time spent inputting written data later because it ends up in an electronic source later. Data entry can be troublesome, and using an electronic mobile application helps increase accuracy and consistency. We put in default fields where we can and drop down values to choose from to kind of help you avoid fat fingering techniques that often happen in inputting data. Standard core data fields are also being collected for programs across all states this way. And near live monitoring, reporting, and decision making can be done as these applications often are connected to dashboards, and as we sync our data in, can be reviewed in, as I said, near live time. The bottom line is that we better protect our nation's food. So it means that the decisions that are made based on the data that you collect are leveraged against better data at the right time. That said, you are, each and every one of you, very important to that. So how about why ArcGIS Collector? There's lots of ways to collect data electronically, and End User Tools specifically is constantly researching new innovations, considering program needs, and recommending the best current match. If Esri's product, ArcGIS Collector, has been configured for collecting data for BTM, it's a result of much time, energy, and experience involving many minds. In the case of BTM, data collection methods are led by the IMT and data team. The fields to collect are determined, and then the best mobile application is determined. The IFIS data collector was chosen to support trapping data collection within PPQ, and as we're talking about today, the ArcGIS Collector application will be offered as the external or cooperator tool. There is also, of course, a trace survey, which is using the ArcGIS Survey 123 mobile application to support it. Now that we're really excited and understand the reasons behind the technology to use, let's dive into ArcGIS Collector. This is a good time to remind you of pre-training that is recommended highly, including an introduction to the ArcGIS Collector application. That video explains how Collector works in a lot more detail. For this training, it is assumed that you have either completed that course or used Collector previously to the point that you're very comfortable with normal use. PPQ takes full advantage of ArcGIS's ability to download a map area to your device and collect data in disconnected mode. In the case that this is not familiar to you, here is the workflow. First, let's talk through these trapping adventures, and then I'll show you exactly how it works in a training version of this map. You can do the same if you'd like, either along with this video or later in your own time. This training map will be shared with your group along with the real, I'll put real in quotes, map as well. Be very careful that you have not used the training map to enter real data. The training map is for play and practice only. Firstly, placing a trap places a symbol on the map. It records the data about the location of that trap, and it begins with the question of whether that trap is active or inactive in status, and must be followed by an activity of install immediately. If you install a trap location and do not record the activity install, it looks as if there's a location with no trap. So that is very important. When you place a point on the map, you have to follow that by recording an activity of install. So you place a point on the map, which is where the trap will go, and every visit to follow also will be recorded in the activities table. That records every activity performed during that trap visit. Again, it must start with install, but then there are other options such as monitor or even remove or other options. Let's have a look.
Here we are with a view of my iPad. Let's open Collector. And Collector likes to find the last map you were in, which happens to be the one we want, but I'm going to go back and show you where that was. And again, I'm in the PPQ BTM Trapping Collector 2021 training version. There is, of course, real versions, which will not have this word training, but actually will have a state abbreviation here between BTM and trapping. So we are carefully making sure that we are doing our play and our practice in the training version of this map. And you can see that I've taken the time to create offline areas. It's indicated there underneath the title. So I have a map area downloaded to my device, and I can collect data while disconnected from the internet. However, I'm in my basement, so I'm going to remain connected and make sure I can show you a demo that works. So I'm going to open this downloaded map area, and I am in Windsor, Colorado, and I've got a few test points around me, but let's do this as if we are actually collecting data, although the GPS accuracy may not meet that requirement of 30 feet. So see here, the GPS is still trying to find me, and it's actually doing a great job in the basement. And then up here, our sync icon with the two arrows in and out show me that I have no edits right now. And we'll see the difference in a moment when we create an edit. So in order to collect data, we're going to hit this plus button. And our first option is to select whether this trap will be active or inactive. I'm going to choose active, and now we have a data form. And as you can see, there are some stars next to some of these fields. That means they are required. And it's still trying to find my GPS accuracy, and I can see that I've not met the requirement because this circle is still red. It might get there. Let's see what happens. Again, you want to follow survey protocol in order to fill out site name, trap ID, etc. I'm just going to put in some test numbers here. I can keep scrolling down, and I'm going to choose probably some things that don't make a lot of sense to you. Let's say a home garden. Here I am at home. You would put in carefully the address if you have that. You can see they're not required because you may not have that, but if any information you want to fill in, and under comments, I'm going to again say test and hit done. At this point, I've actually in my basement achieved GPS accuracy. It says I've got 26.8 feet accuracy. That's not terrible. And I have a blue circle, which means I am in the clear to add that point. So what am I missing? Am I missing anything? This is what I always want to do. Go back and check everything. Be sure that that point is correct. I'm going to add the point, and now I've got a blue submit button, which means my accuracy has met standards and I've completed all required fields. So I will tap submit. And now that point is now there, but our next step is to do an install activity. So that's that second piece of data that must be entered. And you can see that the sync button now has a little dot. That means I now have an edit waiting to sync back to that online database. In order to access the activities table, you can either tap this link button at the bottom left corner, or scroll up and you'll find a matching link button and the word activities. So if we tap activities, now we're about to open that activities table. This is where they would be listed if they were added. Instead, we're going to add an activity. Again, this is just a test data. So I'm just going to put in what should first be listed, which is install. And these are all subsequent activities that you might enter on next visits to this trap, but the first one should be install. If a sample was collected during this point, you would put in a field sample ID there. Activity comments, I'm going to put in test. And here's another thing of note, the activity date here is kind of a bug of this software. It pulls in a date that is so obviously incorrect. And the way to fix that is to tap that and tap this blue button today. You see it just jumped right to today and this very moment. And then I'll go back and check my form. Did I fill everything out? Yes, looks great. I usually tap today one more time just to be sure and submit. There's our initial data entry.
Five steps. On the original trap site, you need to mark that trap as inactive status, which you do in the main data form. You need to create an activity entry, so you need to go to the activities table and enter remove. Then you have to physically walk that trap, if you're using the same trap, to the new location. That's step 3. And then on the new trap site, you want to place the trap location on the map and enter an install activity. Let's do that together on the trap we just placed. So this blue dot that you're looking at is the GPS location of where I am, and remember we placed a trap right under that, right where I am. So we're going to want to zoom in and try to select that trap site, and we can see that it did. And here's all that information we entered together in my home garden. And let's say, actually it's not my garden, it's a neighbor garden. So I'm going to first go to the activities table, which we do by hitting this link button or scrolling down until we find that link button. Let's do this link icon at the bottom this time. I'm going to add an activity. It's me. Remember, this is all in the training version, and there is remove. So we would like to remove this trap today, and the comments are moving to another site or whatever you think should go there. And we want to make sure again to update this date to today. Check it over. That looks great. Submit. There's step 1. Next, we want to go back to this trap sites, the main data form, so we can just tap that. And we want to edit this form. This form is view only at this point. In order to edit, we can either hit this pencil icon or scroll down to find that matching pencil icon, which is pretty much universally known as edit. So we'll hit edit, which then opens the form to changes. So we can edit any of the fields on this form. So for any reason, if you need to edit, that is how you would edit that form. In order to change this trap status from active to inactive, we tap it, choose inactive, and submit that data entry. So we have changed the trap status to inactive, and we have updated a trap activity of remove. Now we're done with this trap. So step 3, we can take that trap and just walk it on over to where it goes. I'm going to exit out of all of these and zoom back out. And I'm going to kind of do like just a little pretend walk back over to where it should go. Let's say we put it at this circle here right in the middle. So our 4th step would be to place the trap, which is done by tapping this plus button. We're going to collect some data on that point. Normally we would walk it over so the GPS would help us out. I'm going to place it right here very carefully, and this is our new active trap, so we're going to say active. Now we have a data form on this new location, and we'll fill that out. And again, I'm filling out generic information just to show you the demonstration. See, the trap status is active. Host, we'll say it's a loquat this time. I'm going to call it a park. I don't have the address, so I can go next, 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 all the way down if I'd like. And I'm going to say again test. So here again we have all of our entry for placing this trap, this moved trap, and I will hit submit. And when you first place a trap, you may have noticed this the last time, it holds it in a selected mode, so that blue kind of halo around that red point means that point is selected. If I were to select a different point, see the blue halo is now selected that point, and this data form is associated with it. So remember, our last step would be to install the trap. We've placed a point on the map, but that means very little about the trap being installed. So we want to make sure that that is selected. It's automatically done when you just first open and complete that data form. But just thought I'd point that out to you. It's actually selected that. And so if you were to go back and want to edit something, or maybe you left this site and realized you did not record an activity, this would be how you would do that. You would select that point and then go to the activity table. So we're going to do that. We're going to select Add. Activity type, the first step is Install. We don't have a sample. Again, I always like to put test in there. We will update this date and make sure this is today's date. Check it over and submit. So that's the relocate workflow. First, we will update the status of that trap to inactive. Second, we will remove the trap by entering an activity of remove. We'll walk it over to the new location, then we will place the trap and again follow that by an activity of install. There can be many types of edits that you may want to perform, and most of these are possible right here in the ArcGIS Collector application. As you can see, one of the most common edits would be to update the trap activity, or perhaps to change the trap status from active to inactive or back to active, depending on what you need. You can also change the location of that point on the map. Let's maybe edit this point. The first step to editing any point is to select it. And we saw that in the last demo. So now this point is selected, and I'd like to move it to this corner of the field because for whatever reason GPS put me over here. When I was walking along, I thought I took the point and I submitted and I need to move it. So for whatever reason, I need to move that point over here. It's not a trap being moved, it was an error from the start. And maybe I also have the wrong host. So I'm going to correct those two things. In order to do that, I first tap to select that symbol. Be very careful when there's too many together. You might want to zoom in and be sure of that. That's where your trap ID might come in handy for you to check to be sure you are editing the correct trap. And then to edit, it's either this pencil icon at the bottom or scroll up to find that matching pencil icon and tap Edit. This opens this point to edits, and it begins on the data form, the main data form. So two things we want to change: the location of this symbol on the map. So I will tap and hold and move, and now this is where I want it to go, so I'm going to update the point. And you can see that point jumped. It's no longer in that corner. It's jumped right over to where I want it to be. So I've already moved it, and then I'm going to change the host to an ash. So my changes are all present in the main data form. I changed or edited the host and I moved that point. Now I hit submit, and when I sync that data back to the main database, that is now the new location. I have edited that properly, and if I want to, I can also, well selected, add an activity. You can see the original activity is correct. It was install. Let's say that I'm also going to monitor this today. So I will add that in as well. The activity type, monitor. I'm not taking a sample. Comments are, for me, always test. Update this activity date to today. Check it over and submit. So now if I close out of the data and activity forms, I can scroll around and see all of my points are in order. I can even select an older point that is inactive and have a look at it, including its activity table. And this is probably the most minimum you'll see in an activity table, but as you can see, you should always see install as the first activity. So that's how you might make some edits. Now we've done all of our survey work together here in connected mode, but you would normally be in disconnected mode and then reconnect to Wi-Fi once you get back to a strong Wi-Fi signal and take care of syncing this data. And I can see that I have data to sync based right away on the icon with that little dot. That dot tells me there are edits that need to go out on the out arrow. So in order to sync, there are two options. You can tap this sync button, or even all the way back On the actual map area, if you tap this this three dot menu, you have the option to sync. Let's choose within the map so that we can have a look at this list. So you can see all of the edits that you and I did together. All of these edits are all listed here and can be reviewed to kind of check over your day. Everything looks great to me. Auto sync is in fact off and should be off because we want to do this manually and by choice when we feel that we're connected nicely. We have 7 local edits and the message here is that they are not synced. So you want to hit this sync button and really that's about it. Watch to be sure that those edits go through to that map. Again, in this case, I want to point out we're in the training map, so none of this is real data. Be sure to sync at the end of every day and before you start the day, because remember these arrows go in and out. So syncing pulls data in from the map online and pushes your data edits out. There we go. Maybe you saw that green dot, but also the messaging says there is no local edits and it was synced just now. If synced earlier, that will have a timestamp as well. So don't forget to sync your data. We've overviewed quite a bit together here today in this video and rather quickly. Of course, you can review it at your leisure by rewinding and watching it again and again, but there's a few things to take note of. We've gone over the importance of placing a point, following it by an activity of install, but also to take note of that activity date. Remember it comes in as 1899. Always make sure you tap today and update that date. Also, the relocate workflow is a little tricky sometimes. We want to remember those 5 steps. On the original trap site, we will change the trap status on the main data form to inactive. We will open the activities table and enter an activity of remove. Third, physically walk that trap to the new location. Fourth, place the trap. And fifth, always following placing a trap, the first activity is install. The trap status itself of active or inactive, we want to review that every time. Is that the correct status? Sometimes that gets missed. So just take note of that trap status and make a note of it each time you visit a trap. Also that we're working in disconnected mode. So we want to make sure we have an offline map area to reference. In addition, sometimes we need a little help. Remember, the Box Tree Moth is being managed by an incident management team and refer to them for all things. All support, all training, all survey protocol, anything about portal access or collector application technique, go through that IMT. And finally, we have a quiz. I'll put the link down in the description of this video. View it as a way to review what you've learned in the video. Also, it will automate an email to you to show your completion of this training. Thank you for your time spent today with me, and good luck out there.